we're going to be looking at using a turtle to draw complex geometric shapes for us. Now, let's see how that works. So, in maths, there is a concept, an idea of a turtle. And this is how it works. You imagine you have a pet turtle, and your pet turtle can understand certain commands. And when you give those commands, it performs them. So, for example, I could say to my turtle, forward, and it will walk forward however much I tell it to. So, if they have a pen in their tail, that means I could get them to draw lines. So say I have a turtle called Ethel. My turtle's called Ethel. I can say, Ethel, walk forward 100 meters. And my turtle will walk forwards, and it will be a 100-meter long line that they draw behind them using the pen that they are holding. So with this, I can start drawing some interesting shapes. Let's see an example. Here we have Henry. I can say to Henry, go forward 100 centimeters. Let's see what Henry does. There we are. And Henry draws a line behind them. So we've looked at making them move in a straight line. What happens when we want to turn? Well, turning is as simple as saying which direction you're turning and by how much. So if I tell Mike to turn right 90 degrees, they are going to turn a right angle. So you can see we have this almost compass point like system behind here, behind the turtle. If I tell him to turn 90 degrees, where do you think he's going to end up? Let's see. There you are. He's turned right 90 degrees. We can work out where they're going to end up if we take their starting point, which was 0 degrees. We add to the starting point the angle of turn, how much we told them to turn. So I told Mike to turn 90 degrees, and the sum of that gives us the answer. So they're going to end up facing towards the 90 degrees. What happens if I gave my turtle, Mike, a new direction or new amount to turn? Okay, now I'm going to tell him to turn right 45 degrees. So to work this one out, it's best if we ignore the compass. So let's get rid of that. And we instead think of how much the turtle needs to turn relative to itself. So we look at where the head is pointing, and we need to measure 45 degrees from the direction it's pointing to the direction it ends up. So turning right 45 degrees, he's going to turn with his right flipper, this one here. Let's watch him do that. 45 degrees. Now, let's see where he ended up on the compass. Okay, so he's pointing towards 135 degrees. How did we get that number? Well, we take the starting point. Remember, he started facing 90 degrees. We add to it the amount we've told them to turn, which is 45 degrees. 90 plus 45 equals 135 degrees. So he's finished. And notice that when the turtle is told to turn, it turns on the spot. So, you now know how to move the turtle forward and how to make the turtle turn. This step is best done with a piece of pen and paper. Maybe even cut out your own turtle if you'd like to. But you should imagine a turtle in front of you. You need to work out the instructions you need to give your turtle to make a square shape. And once you've done a square shape, try it with a rectangle shape. I'll give you a second to pause this video, and I will go through this as a worked example. So here's George. George is a very ugly turtle, as you can see. I'm not a very good artist, but it'll do. So we can give instructions to George, and we need to remember that George is holding a pen. So if I wanted to get George to draw a square, I need to take into account his starting position. So he's starting up there, but I also need to take into account what is his direction, what is his heading, where is he facing. So at the moment he's facing, let's call that east. Yeah, it doesn't really matter, but bear in mind that depending on the direction of the turtle, we may need different instructions to give it. So I'm going to start there, and I want it to draw a square. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, George, go forward 30 centimetres. And there he is, he goes forward 30 centimetres. So when making the square, we need to think about what are the properties of the square that we need to be able to translate into turtle language. Well, a square has 4 sides, so one's going to be there, I know one's going to be there, one's going to be there, one's going to be there, and they're all going to be of equal length. So I said forward 30 centimetres, and that's what got us that. Well, that means that when I do this one and this one and this one, they also need to be 30 centimetres. What other properties does a square have? Well, it also has angles, and it has four angles, which means that I will need 4 instructions for the turtle that to do with angles. How much are the angles? Well, they're right angles, so 90 degrees. So let's try that. We ended up with George on that spot, facing that direction. Okay, George, turn right 90 degrees. And there he is, he's turned right. Notice he hasn't moved at all, he's just turned on the spot. George, go forward 30 centimetres. George, turn right 90 degrees. George, go forward 30 centimetres. George, turn right 90 degrees. George, go forward 30 centimetres. So at this point it looks like we've completed our square. However, it is good practice to always make one final turn so that the turtle ends up where they started. So if we looked back to the beginning, George started in that position. At the moment he's now in that position, so I need to do one final turn right 90 degrees. And there we are, we've drawn a square. Let's annotate this out. So the instructions were as follows. Forward 30, right 90, forward 30, right 90, and so on. So forward 30, right 90, forward 30, and finally the last, right 90. Okay, so, well, this being step 1, that was this line here, So that was 30 centimeters, and it was step 1. Okay, then we have this down here. So that's 90 degrees. This was step 2. Then we have this line. And that was step 3. We have this corner, and that was step 4. We have this line at the bottom, and that was step 5. This one down here, this corner here, which was step 6. We had a line, and that was step 7. I can't draw a 7, I drew a 9. It's one of those days today. And finally, we have step 8. So in 8 instructions, I can draw a square nice and easily. Okay, take a look at these instructions and see which ones we need to alter if we want to draw a rectangle, as that's the next challenge. Anyway, thank you for listening. Once you're happy drawing shapes, have a go at the worksheet, and after that we can move on to using a digital turtle in using Python. So see you later.